So the questions always come from people in regards to someone that said something, and sometimes the mistake is done by the speaker, where the speaker assumes that you know what he's talking about. Meaning, he will say a story, and then I'll mention some side comment, like, yeah, you remember what happened with Avraham Avinu and his father, and continue, assuming you know what he's talking about. And if you're talking to a bunch of Talmidei Chachamim, Talmidei Yeshiva, people that have learned this with you, it's correct to do. But if you're talking to the general public, for the most part, it's incorrect. Unless it's just too long of an explanation, it's incorrect to do it simply because it's assuming people know what you're talking about, and many times they don't, and it makes them actually very, very confused. To assume people know the basics is incorrect in this generation, and probably quite a few generations before us even, but definitely this generation, because most people today, including religious people, do not know the basics. How do I know? I deal with them every single day. I deal with religious people, I deal with non-religious people, I deal with all types of people, and quite frankly, the vast majority of people do not know the basics. They simply do not know the basics. So assuming they know the basics is incorrect. So if you're going to say something with the assumption that people know the basics, then you're going to have a lot of confused people. And the audience that you have is going to be underserved. But that's sometimes the reason why people have confusions. Sometimes that's the reason why somebody will answer that question the way that you just said it, whether Mashiach is going to die, assuming you understood there's two Mashiachs and one is not going to die and one is going to die. He assumed maybe that's the reason.
He was talking about Mashiach ben David.
If he talked about Mashiach ben David, then he has to learn again. The other reason is sometimes that the listener mishears or misunderstands what the speaker says. Mishears and misunderstands. He says something, and the listener just doesn't hear it the right way. He misunderstands it. And this happens even more often. Even more often this happens. That's why Kadosh Baruch Hu invented and created YouTube and video, which allows you to rewind 10 seconds, rewind 20 seconds, rewind 30 minutes, and hear it all over again, because you obviously did not arrive at the right conclusion. You hear it again, you play it again, and you hear it enough times, you'll understand it. Sometimes I myself listened to the same recording that Rabbi Ephraim sent me of an answer 15 times. Now I heard it the first time. It's a 2-minute recording. I heard it once, twice, 3, 4. I'll hear it 15 times. Why? Because until I know that I understand every word that he said in there, I'm not finished. Again and again and again and again. If I was you guys, if I was sitting in there looking, what I do with my rabbi? When I have my rabbi, if I talk to my rabbi, we have a shiur. Every day there's Baruch Hashem a shiur. I have a pen and paper in front of me. I write down as many words as I can. And after I write, I listen to the shiur. Just like everybody else listens on the internet. They listen to Rabbi Ephraim's shiur. I listen to shiur also, just like them. I'm one of the views. Sometimes 2, sometimes 10, sometimes 20. Why? I want to make sure I understand every word, depending on the shiur. If it's material that we've never covered, it's brand new, I'm going to hear it as many times as I have to until I remember it. But people listen to shulim, they listen to shulim every day, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, 10, for 10 years. Nothing changes. Why? Because they're listening. They're not learning. They're listening. Superficially, like music. So, sometimes the listener mishears the speaker, misunderstands the speaker, and arrives at the wrong conclusion. But then sometimes the speaker is a rasha. Sometimes the speaker is a rasha. And he simply has so much ego that he decides that he's going to contradict all of the chachamim before him that said the opposite. He decides to say something that's completely unheard of. He decides to say something from his own mind as if he's equivalent to them. Like one of my dear friends went to visit Russia, and he went to a Beit Knesset over there in Russia. Unfortunately, another terrible Chabad story. And he goes to a big multi-million-dollar building, and he sees almost every single person drove to shul on Shabbat in the Kehillah. Big Kehillah, not like 5 people. Big Kehillah, almost every single person drove to shul. Shtabach Shimo, like as if it became mutar, allowed to drive. Then, since he's familiar with the people, starts, wait, almost every single person is married to a Goya. Shtabach Shimo La'ad, as if it became mutar. Intermarriage became allowed. Now he's there on Shabbat. Who's going to get aliyah to the Torah? There's a few people that keep. Who's getting aliyah to the Torah? Every single aliyah, Michalel Shabbat, married to a Goya. Every single aliyah. Then he says, here's the caveat. Here's the bonus. He says, here's a picture of one of the new Baalei Tshuva. He did Tshuva. What did he do? One guy did Tshuva in the Kehillah. What did he do? He got a huge tattoo on his back. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Tattooed on his back. With an angel on top of it. See this big giant Russian guy, 400 pounds, with a tattoo of a verse in the Torah. You're not even allowed to erase it now. Not allowed to erase it now. Because it's a verse in the Torah, it's Hashem's name. Not allowed to erase Hashem's name when it's inscribed like that, engraved like that. But it's a sin. It's a Baal Tshuva. Baal Tshuva. Baal Tshuva. He says, Hashem Yachem, the things he told me. Some of the things, honestly, just giving you guys covered, I don't want to mention some of the things he told me. Hashem Yachem, what's happening? Anyway, now you would think, okay, so if somebody, all these people are off, this, that, somebody says something to get them to do tshuva, chazak b'o, no. So he decides to take the initiative and start saying some chizuk to a few guys. No, listen, you can't be married to this woman. You have to do tshuva. You have to keep Shabbat. Mashiach comes. It's he's only going to see people who do tshuva. The rabbi, the rabbi of this kehillah, comes, interrupts him, says, hey, don't listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Mashiach comes, the Rebbe told us, Mashiach comes, everybody's saved. So he's Talmid Chacham, he knows what he's talking about. He goes, no, Rabbi, I'm sorry, but we have verses in the Torah. It says, David HaMelech says, Uba leTzion Goel Leshaveh Pesha V'Yaakov. The verse in the Torah says specifically that the Goel, the Mashiach, is only going to save people that do tshuva, not people that just drove to shul on Shabbat. People do tshuva, keep mitzvot. No. Okay, but what about, it says in the Torah, Yetziat Mitzrayim, Chamushim left Mitzrayim, only a small portion of Am Yisrael, of Bnei Yisrael left Mitzrayim. Hashem killed the rest of them because they didn't do tshuva. He says, no, over here, we don't believe that. Here in this Chabad, we don't believe that. It's a Meforash in Torah. No, we don't believe that. The guy wanted to start crying. Wanted to start crying, mamash. Why? This, Rabotai, is literally destroying any chance that those poor people have of doing tshuva. Why? Because even if they've already made the mistake of marrying a non-Jew, even if they already made a mistake of not living a religious life, even if they already made a mistake of driving on Shabbat, even if they already made a mistake of Shem Yachem, how many mistakes they're making. What's their hope? Their hope is that the rabbi is what? The rabbi is going to tell them, my dear son, listen, Hashem says not to drive on Shabbat. Hashem says not allowed to marry a non-Jew. Hashem says this. Hashem says that. The rabbi's job is to do that. That's the point of the rabbi. But he doesn't do that. What does he tell them? Rosh Chodesh Elul, drasha, on Shabbat. The only mitzvah, he tells them, Kehillah, then my friend is over there. The only mitzvah you're all responsible for is give tzedakah to Chabad. That's it. I hope not. I know that not all of Chabad is like this, but this is another example. Unfortunately, a lot of the bad stories come from Chabad. Not necessarily because they're all bad. There are many that are bad because they're the most common. It's as common as Starbucks. I mean, there's one in every corner, Baruch Hashem. Alvai, they all actually had people do tshuva before they become rabbis. Before you become a rabbi, do tshuva first. But Rabotai, this is happening all over the world. You think the story is bad? It's happening all over the world. They have the same exact story in Australia. Same exact story in Seattle. Same exact story in New York. Same exact story in Florida. Same exact story, mamash, in all four corners of the world. I have the same exact story. It's like I keep asking, how do these people know each other? How do they all have the same story? What, they all go to the same Chabad? It's that big, this Chabad? It's 4 continents? Out of 7, this one covers all 4. How? Where's this building? I can't see it. Everywhere, Rabotai. Why? Because, Rabotai, Yekarim, the Gemara Masechet Sotah, page 49, says that before Mashiach comes, most of the rabbis are going to be Erev Rav. They're going to be Reshaim. Most of the people that are supposed to be doing one thing are going to be doing the opposite. And people that tell you the truth are going to be publicly embarrassed and made fun of. Chutzpah tizgeh. The chutzpah that people have, the nerve that people have, will reach new levels where they're going to literally tell people to do whatever you want, just give us money. That's your tshuva. If that's not bad enough, the rabbi knows that all the guys that are married to goyot doesn't say a single thing. He tells them give money. All the guys that are not married, he knows they all go to prostitutes on Shabbat. That's for mitzvah, for Shabbat. They all go together. I have another Chabadnik over here, calls himself a Chabadnik. He married a Goya to a Kohen. All types of people destroying the Chabad name. Destroying the Chabad name. Destroying it. Why? You know what kind of tzaddikim Chabad had? You know what kind of tzaddikim Chabad had? The Rogatchover Rebbe, Allah Shalom, was a Chabadnik. You know Rogatchover Rebbe, Kodesh Kodeshim. He met Einstein, or better yet, Einstein met him. 5 minutes, Einstein came out of the room. He says, with his brain, you can make 4 Einsteins. They came to the rabbi, came to the Rogatchover Rebbe, later on told him, for the Rav, this Chacham Einstein was very impressed by you. Says you can make 4 of him with you. He goes, what? What was he so impressed about? All we talked about is his shtuyot. His nonsense about the E equals MC squared. I just showed him all of that stuff is already in the Torah from thousands of years ago. All we talked about for 4 minutes is his nonsense. If he wants to be impressed, come learn Gemara with me, I'll show you. Meaning, Einstein, what was Einstein impressed? He wasn't impressed, but the Rogatchover Rebbe was able to show him different halachot inside some verse in the Torah in some magical way. No. Einstein was impressed that in a matter of seconds, his 40, 50, 60 years of work was on a fingertip of the Rogatchover Rebbe, who knew more about it than he did. From the Torah, though. The Rogatchover Rebbe, Rabotai, was very kharif, very, very sharp. And you couldn't fool him for nothing. And he was very, very hard on people that wanted to be chachamim. He didn't give you an easy route. He'd rip you apart. And a lot of people would leave meetings with him crying, hysterical. One time, this Rasha, that was a Rosh Yeshiva, very arrogant, known to be arrogant, coming into town, and he asked him, "You gonna go meet the Rogatchover Rebbe?" He says, "Yeah, I'll go meet him." So he went to go meet the Rogatchover Rebbe. He said, "Kol Rav, this is Rosh Yeshiva. He's here in town." So the guy did what I was talking about in the beginning of the shiur. As an introduction, he told him his resume. "Oh, I wrote this book, and this, and that, I did this, and I have a yeshiva, he's showing his glory. So the Rogatchover Rebbe says, "Zaku Baruch, That's it. It was nice to him. So before the guy left, he says, Kvod Harav, it's not nice what they say about you. He says, well, what did they say about me? He says, they say that you're very harsh on Talmidei Chachamim. He says, I am. On Talmidei Chachamim. I'm harsh on them. If he didn't get the joke, he's telling the guy, he's not a Talmid Chacham, so why should I be harsh on you? Very, very sharp individual. Somebody that had enough Torah in his mind that somebody that was a Chacham, Talmid Chacham, had a sugya, had a complication. He couldn't arrive at a solution in the Torah. Studying it, couldn't find something. So he wrote a letter. In those days, didn't have computers. So I heard the story from Rav Aaron Levi, Shlita, Shichyeh. He says, somebody sent a letter to the Rogatchover Rebbe. He said, Kvod Harav, I have this sugya, this complication, I can't find an answer, and it's bothering me at night. I can't go to sleep. What should I do? Can you give me an answer? So the Rogatchover Rebbe writes him a letter, gives him over 50 different sources. He didn't give him the answer like I give you guys answer, I give you the whole story, you ask a question, I give you 15 minutes answer, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, and I show you how to make words out of it. No, he just says, look, Gemara Baba Metzia, page 37a. Look, Baba Metzia, Tosfot over there. Look, this one over there. This one over there. This one over there. Give me the page numbers and then. Because the guy's telling me, Chacham, he starting out. Gives him over 50 different sources. So the guy gets a letter, starts looking at the sources. Has nothing to do with his question. There's no way, it's a Chacham. He's not like giving me a wrong answer. Studies all the sources, over 50 different sources. Everything he said, look at the Tosfot here, Tosfot there, Tosfot here, Tosfot there. Nothing. After a month of studying it, he writes another letter. He goes, Kvod Harav, I'm sorry. I studied all the sources, all the Tosfot that you gave me. I don't even know. I maybe make a mistake. But how is this relevant to my question? The Rogatchover Rebbe writes him a letter back. He goes, if you notice, all of the places that I gave you, the Tosfot over there, Tosfot was a group of almost 2,000 Chachamim. It wasn't one person. I actually used to think it was only one person. Tosfot was like Rashi, one person. No, Tosfot was a group of over 2,000 Chachamim. He says, if you notice, Tosfot in all of those places had a question, unanswered question. They had a question about what was happening in the Gemara, but didn't have an answer. But yet you continue seeing Tosfot everywhere else in the Gemara. Meaning that even if you reach a complication you don't have an answer to, you keep going, don't worry. You keep going. That's the answer. That's more valuable than just giving you the answer on a silver platter. Don't decide, I can't learn anymore until I find the answer. Sometimes you have to keep learning even if you don't know the answer. So one of the things that you'll notice as you learn more and more Torah is that the Chachamim, the real Chachamim, write more and less. More information with less words. The books that you buy from, today, a lot of the modern stuff that people write, quite frankly, Kvodam Bimkomam, everybody put a lot of toil into their work and so on and so forth, but you cannot compare it to the writings of the Gdolei Ador. You cannot compare it to the writings of the Achronim, the giants of the generation. You cannot compare it to anything before them. And it's a nice book. It gave me a little emunah boost. It's a nice book, gave me a little chizuk, and explained to me a couple of stories. But you can't compare the two. It's a world of difference. But then you see also a very interesting thing, that the writings of the Achronim were the latest sages. Most recent one, when they write answers on a question, they write mamash chapters, and in some cases entire books on just one answer. Books, chapters, and hundreds of pages on one answer. And in there they have literally dozens, if not hundreds of sources. But then you look at the Rishonim, the Rambam, the Ramban, all of the giants from, 600 years ago, 800 years ago, 900 years ago. They don't write that much. You see the Rambam's Mishneh Torah, he writes an answer. The whole halacha, one paragraph. Sometimes 2 sentences, 1 sentence. Sometimes it's a page and a half, but generally it's small. But if you look at some of his Talmidim from 500 years later, or 800 years later, let's say, write an explanation of what he wrote 900 years ago. He wrote a whole 5 books on this little paragraph. So the question is, how come the answers of the Rishonim from 900 years ago is so simple, if you will, so minimal, if you will, but the Achronim so elaborate? Now everyone knows that the Rishonim, the Rambam, the Ramban, the Rabash, all of the giants, they're bigger than the Achronim. Rabbi Yosef Karo is bigger than anyone that lived in the last 100 years. You can't compare the two. So how come the Rabbi Yosef Karo wrote an halacha in 3 sentences, the Rambam wrote an halacha in 2 sentences, but if you see somebody in the last 20 years write a book, he wrote a whole book on one halacha. What, they have more Torah? No, it can't be possible. They're better, they're higher. How come? So I heard a fantastic answer from, like I said, Rabbi Yaron Levi. And he says, everyone knows that the generation of the Rambam and the Achronim were bigger. Everybody knows. No one is saying that their Torah is less. So how come the ones that lived more recently have more elaborate answer? He says, when somebody's blind and he's looking for an exit, what does he do? Touches all the walls. Let me check here. No, it's not here. No, let me check here. Check it. You check everywhere. They touch everywhere just to make sure where. Eventually they find a door. When someone can see, they go straight to the door. Meaning that even though the Achronim, Gdolei Hador, Kodesh Kodeshim, they had Ruach HaKodesh, still they were considered blind in comparison to the Rambam. We're talking about people, people, Malachei HaSharet, Arav Ovadia, the Chazon Ish, Chafetz Chaim, the Stipler Gaon. These people are Malachim, considered blind in comparison to the Rambam. And the Rambam is considered blind in comparison to Rabbi Akiva. Such is the difference between the Chachamim, even though they're all big, they're all tzaddikim, they're all great, they're all everything. Needless to say, people today that speak freely and say things freely, and if the giants of the generation were considered blind in comparison to the previous generations, who are you and who do you think you are to come up with a chidush that contradicts them? So how come their Torah is so elaborate? Is because they're not contradicting them. What are they doing? It's like, I have a chidush, I have a new thing, but it's not really me. I'm going to give you 50 different chachamim, 50 different proofs that said the same thing. It's just, I'm going to condense it into one book. All of these chachamim that came before me, they said the same thing. I'm just going to show you all of it in one book. It's not really my idea. I'm just shedding light on it. I was shedding light on a pre-existing idea, but it was spread everywhere. So I'm going to give you 50 different sources, 150 different sources that's saying what I'm saying to you in a simple way. But because I cannot contradict the Rambam, I cannot contradict anybody before me, what am I going to do? I'm going to give you the sources that this actually already exists, just in a nicer format. So the real Chachamim, they're not bringing anything new, if you will. They're in essence showing you that everything already exists and already has existed. Which means that if anybody here comes today and has the audacity to tell you they have a new tradition, a new idea, run away as far as you possibly can from that person. And the reason is, they're either evil, like this guy from Russia, and anyone that does what he does, that tells people that the only mitzvah they have to do is give tzedakah, or they're too stupid to even deal with. They're too stupid to even know they're stupid, thinking that their idea, their chidush has legs to walk on, and they can challenge the Gdolim before them. It's not a problem to have a chidush, as long as the chidush has legs. Meaning, what does legs mean? Legs mean there are other chachamim that have said the same thing, that agree with your idea. It doesn't contradict anything before you. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand this, and they think that the Torah has changed. And that's why they fall trapped to such wicked people that run keilot and speak against the Torah, speak against the emet,